Watch where you're going! Aaliyah's shoe slid out from under her like the floor had betrayed her. The mop bucket tipped, water surging forward in one ugly splash, and before she could catch herself, she crashed into a man stepping out of the private hallway. The bucket flipped. Dirty water poured straight down the front of Kendrick Kingsley's designer suit. The entire corridor froze. Aaliyah scrambled up, shaking, eyes wide. I'm so sorry. Sir, I didn't— Kendrick stared at his soaked clothes like it was an insult to his bloodline. His face twisted with fury as staff peeked around corners, terrified to breathe. You just ruined a suit worth more than your whole life, he said coldly. Aaliyah's throat tightened. Please, it was an accident. Accident, Kendrick snapped, voice loud enough to draw a crowd. He pointed toward the exit like she was trash. You're fired, right now, get out. Aaliyah stood there drenched in shame, surrounded by whispers, not knowing the real owners were watching,
I'm sorry.
and not knowing this one spill was about to change her destiny forever. The following morning, the kind of morning that should have felt like hope, Aaliyah Carter woke up to the sound of a bottle rolling across the floor. She lay still for a moment, eyes open, listening. The small two-bedroom house, peeling paint, weak ceiling fan, and old curtains that never quite blocked the sun, was quiet except for the slow drag of someone moving in the living room. Aaliyah already knew what it meant. Her mother, Denise Carter, was there again, thin, tired, and trapped in the same ugly habit that had swallowed too many of their days. Denise wasn't always like this. Aaliyah remembered the softer version, the woman who used to hum gospel songs while braiding her hair, but that woman felt like a story from another life. Aaliyah sat up, pulled her blanket back, and whispered, Lord, please help me not to be bitter today. She stepped out and found Denise slumped on the couch, eyes half closed, one shoe missing. An empty bottle sat near the table, like proof of defeat. Aaliyah, Denise mumbled, her voice thick. You going to school? Yes, Ma, Aaliyah answered, keeping her tone steady. She walked to the kitchen, rinsed a cup, and poured water. Drink this. Denise waved her off. I'm fine. Aaliyah didn't argue. Arguing never fixed anything. She only set the cup on the table and turned to the stove. The kitchen smelled like yesterday's oil and damp bread. She made the best breakfast she could, plain eggs and toast, while her mind counted numbers like prayer beads, tuition balance, transport, books. The deadline was close. A door slammed hard enough to shake the walls. Her father, Raymond Carter, strode in wearing a wrinkled shirt and the sharp, restless look of a man chasing quick money. He wasn't drunk, but he carried the same kind of danger, unpredictability. Aaliyah, he said, already irritated. You got any cash? Aaliyah froze. For what? Raymond's jaw tightened. Don't question me. I just need something small. I'll flip it and bring it back. Aaliyah's chest tightened too. Dad, no. Not again. His eyes flashed. Again? You think you're grown now? You think you can talk to me anyway? Denise stirred on the couch but didn't intervene. She rarely did. Aaliyah swallowed her fear. My school fees are due. We can't keep losing money like this. Raymond scoffed. School fees, as if school is going to save you. Look at this life. Look at this house. Aaliyah looked at it too. She looked at the cracks and the worn furniture, and her mother's tired body, and her father's reckless pride. Then she looked down at her hands, steady, capable, refusing to shake. School will save me, she said quietly, and I'm not giving you the money. Raymond's lips curled like he was about to say something cruel, but his phone buzzed. He checked it, cursed under his breath, and stormed out again. Aaliyah exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. Minutes later, she stood outside the house, in her simple blouse and skirt, backpack on, hair pulled into a neat ponytail. The air was warm, and the morning light was bright. too bright for how heavy her heart felt. At the university, the hallways buzzed with students who didn't know what it meant to fight just to stay enrolled. Aaliyah kept her head down until a familiar voice cut through the noise. "Well, if it isn't the charity case." Aaliyah turned and saw Sierra Blake, a popular classmate known for her expensive clothes and sharper tongue. Sierra's friends hovered behind her like an audience. Sierra smirked. "How's your mom today? Still partying? And your dad? Still gambling away your future?" Aaliyah's cheeks burned. She felt every eye, every whisper. Then her phone buzzed again. A notification from the finance office. Final notice. Payment due. Soon. Aaliyah stared at the screen, then lifted her chin and looked straight at Sierra. "My family is struggling," she said, voice calm but firm. "But my future isn't yours to laugh at." Sierra blinked, surprised Aaliyah didn't crumble. Aaliyah turned away, walking toward her lecture hall. Her steps were steady, even when her heart wasn't, because she had learned something. Pain never taught Sierra. You don't need a perfect background to build a powerful destiny, and somewhere deep inside her, beneath fear and pressure, a small flame of faith whispered, "Hold on, keep going. I'm not done with you yet." That same evening, the sting of Sierra's words still clung to Aaliyah Carter, like smoke that wouldn't clear. She rode home on a crowded bus, her backpack tight against her chest, replaying the finance office message again and again. Final notice. By the time she stepped off near her street, the sky had turned a soft orange. Kids ran past in dusty slippers. A vendor called out prices for roasted corn. Aaliyah's stomach growled, but worry ate louder than hunger. Inside the house, her mother, Denise, was asleep in the same spot, breathing heavy, smelling like regret. Aaliyah didn't wake her. She quietly changed clothes, sat at the edge of her bed, and opened her phone. A message blinked on the screen from Mr. Dalton Pierce, the private tutor she'd contacted earlier that week through a student job board. "Come by tonight. We can finalize the agreement." Aaliyah had never met him before, but his profile claimed he worked with high-performing students and helped them secure stable income. She needed stable. She needed something that could hold her up when her home couldn't. She whispered a small prayer. "God, please go before me." Then texted Nia. "Aaliyah, I'm going to meet the tutor about a job. Nia Thompson, be careful. Share location. Aaliyah, I will." Nia Thompson, Aaliyah's closest friend, was the kind of girl who laughed loudly but watched details quietly. She didn't trust strangers, and she didn't trust easy money stories. Aaliyah sent her the location anyway and tucked her phone away. The address led her to a small office space above a cafe. The building looked decent, too decent for how cheap the offer had sounded online. Aaliyah took a breath and stepped inside. Mr. Dalton Pierce opened the door himself. He was a middle-aged man with smooth talk and polished shoes, the type who smiled like he already owned your answer. "Aaliyah Carter," he said, eyes lingering too long. "Come in." Aaliyah forced a polite smile and entered. The room smelled like coffee and cologne. He gestured to a chair. "You're a smart girl," he began, flipping through papers he clearly hadn't read. "Top of your class, yes?" "Yes, sir." "And you need income." Aaliyah nodded. "For school." Dalton leaned back, folding his hands. "Tutoring pays, but it pays slow. I can help you get steady money, better money." Aaliyah sat up straighter. "What would I have to do?" His smile widened, and something in his eyes sharpened. "Nothing you can't handle. You're grown. You understand how the world works." He stood and walked closer, lowering his voice like he was offering a gift. "One night, keep me company. After that, I'll make sure you never worry about fees again." The air in Aaliyah's lungs turned cold. Her heart pounded so loudly she wondered if he could hear it. Sir, she said carefully, that's not tutoring. Dalton chuckled like she was being dramatic. Don't act innocent. Plenty of girls do it. Some girls ask for it. You want a future, don't you? Aaliyah rose slowly, her legs shaking but her voice steady. I want a future I can look at without shame. His face tightened. Don't be foolish. You'll be back. Life will humble you. Aaliyah grabbed her bag and walked to the door. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Maybe life will humble me, she said, turning back only once. But it won't be because I sold myself. She stepped into the hallway and didn't stop walking until she reached the street. Only then did she breathe like a human again. Her phone buzzed, Nia calling. Aaliyah? Nia's voice was sharp with worry. You okay? Aaliyah swallowed hard. I'm okay. I'm leaving. Come to me. I can't, Aaliyah whispered, tears threatening. But thank you. She ended the call, wiped her face, and looked up at the night sky. No shortcuts, she told herself. No dirty doors. Then she opened a job listing page again, scrolling until her eyes landed on something new. Cleaner needed. Luxury restaurant complex. Immediate hire. Aaliyah stared at it for a long moment, then pressed apply. The following morning, Aaliyah Carter woke up with swollen eyes, but a steady decision. She didn't have the luxury of staying broken, not when tuition was waiting like a closed gate. She washed her face, smoothed her blouse, and pulled her hair into a neat ponytail. In the mirror, she looked older than her age, like responsibility had been raising her instead of peace. By the time she reached the luxury restaurant complex, the sun was already high. The building rose like a glass giant above the street, with shining windows, polished steps, and a security gate that made Aaliyah instinctively adjust her bag strap. This wasn't the kind of place people like her entered unless they were delivering something. A guard looked her up and down. You here for what? The cleaner position, Aaliyah said politely, keeping her voice calm. They said to come early. He scanned a list, then nodded and waved her through. Straight ahead, service entrance. Aaliyah walked past expensive cars and perfectly trimmed plants. Every step reminded her that she was stepping into someone else's world. Inside, the air smelled like perfume, grilled steak, and money. Workers moved quickly, black uniforms, earpieces, trays balanced like art. Aaliyah followed signs to a small office where a woman stood with a clipboard, her posture straight and her expression firm. Name? The woman asked without looking up. Aaliyah Carter. The woman finally raised her eyes. I'm Mrs. Evelyn Brooks, she said, voice sharp but not cruel. I oversee staff operations here when management is busy. You're here about the cleaning role? Aaliyah nodded. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn studied her. Neat clothes, careful manners, tired eyes. Can you work fast? Can you keep quiet when people act foolish? Can you handle pressure? Aaliyah swallowed. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn's lips pressed together like she was testing the truth. Most people say yes until it's time to prove it. She flipped a page on her clipboard. Follow me. They walked through a staff hallway where Aaliyah saw workers wiping tables until they shone, polishing silverware, lifting boxes, and rushing like the whole building ran on their breath. Evelyn pointed to a supply area. You'll start with floors and the back corridor. If you do well today, you stay. Aaliyah nodded quickly. Thank you. I won't disappoint you. Before Evelyn could respond, a sharp voice cut through the corridor like a whip. Why is that table still dirty? Do you people move like this on purpose? Aaliyah turned and saw him. Kendrick Kingsley, tall, well-dressed, and dangerously handsome, in the way that made people forgive too much. His suit looked custom-made, his watch flashed like a small sun, and his face carried the kind of confidence that didn't ask permission. Two workers stood frozen while Kendrick glared at them. One of them, an older man with grey at his temples, stammered, "Sir, we're doing our best." "Your best?" Kendrick repeated, lips curling. "Your best looks lazy." The older man's shoulders lowered. Aaliyah's chest tightened. Something about disrespecting elders stirred a quiet anger in her, an anger she usually swallowed. Evelyn leaned toward Aaliyah and murmured, "That's Mr. Kingsley. Don't talk to him unless spoken to." But Aaliyah couldn't stop herself from noticing how everyone shrank when Kendrick spoke. Money did that. It made people act like someone else's voice mattered more than their humanity. Kendrick waved his hand like the workers were invisible. "Get it fixed, now." Then he walked off, barking orders into a phone, leaving silence behind him. Aaliyah stood still for a second. Evelyn's eyes stayed on Kendrick as he disappeared around the corner. "He wasn't raised like this," she said under her breath, more to herself than to Aaliyah. Then she turned back, professionalism snapping into place. "Work areas this way." Aaliyah followed, but her mind was already racing. If she was going to survive in this place, she needed more than a strong back. She needed strong self-control. She tied on her apron, grabbed the mop, and went to work. Within the first hour, she moved with quiet speed, wiping, sweeping, polishing, not missing corners. When a customer dropped a napkin, Aaliyah picked it up with a smile. When a worker struggled with boxes, she helped without being asked. Tips started coming, small bills pressed into her hand by grateful guests. By midday, a supervisor passed by and nodded. "New girl's good." Tasha and Brianna, two other cleaners nearby, exchanged a look that wasn't friendly. Aaliyah didn't notice. She was too focused on staying employed. And as she rinsed her mop in the back corridor, she didn't see Kendrick Kingsley step out of a private hallway, his eyes briefly landing on her, curious, as if he was surprised someone like her could work with that kind of calm. Aaliyah lowered her gaze and kept cleaning, because she didn't come here for his attention. She came here to save her future. That same afternoon, the quiet praise Aaliyah Carter received followed her like a shadow. Soft, harmless, but impossible to ignore. After lunch rush, the restaurant slowed just enough for staff to breathe. Aaliyah used the moment to clean deeper, scrubbing corners, wiping baseboards, and organizing supplies the way her mind liked things, neat, controlled, and clean, even when life wasn't. A manager walked by, paused, and nodded at her work. "You're thorough," he said. "What's your name again?" "Aaliyah, sir." "Well, Aaliyah, keep it up. We need more workers like you." Aaliyah's shoulders relaxed just slightly. A compliment wasn't money, but it was a sign she might last here. Not far away, two cleaners watched her closely. Tasha Monroe was tall, with long lashes and a permanent smirk, the kind of woman who spoke sweetly but thought sharply. Beside her stood Brianna Lane, shorter, quick-eyed, and easily influenced. She followed Tasha's lead like it was safer than having her own opinion. Together, they had been working there longer, and they hated how quickly Aaliyah was being noticed. "Look at her," Tasha muttered under her breath. "Always smiling, always helping, like she's trying to be everyone's favorite." Brianna rolled her eyes. "And customers keep tipping her, like she's special." Tasha's gaze narrowed. "People start loving you, they start protecting you, and then you get promoted. That's how it goes." Brianna huffed. "So what? Let her be promoted." Tasha leaned closer. "You don't get it. If she shines, the rest of us look like dirt." Aaliyah walked past them with a polite nod. "Hey, y'all. Need help with anything?" Brianna forced a smile. "No, we good." Tasha didn't answer, only watched Aaliyah's back as she walked away. Across the room, Kendrick Kingsley's voice rose again, sharp and impatient. He was scolding a server for a minor mistake, making a scene out of something that could have been corrected quietly. Aaliyah's hands tightened around a cloth. She didn't like how he spoke to people, but she kept her face calm. Evelyn's warning echoed in her mind. Don't talk to him unless spoken to. Aaliyah focused on her work. She couldn't afford hero moments. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. When she checked it during a short break, it was a voice note from Nia. "Girl," Nia's voice came through, half joking and half serious. "Sierra is running her mouth again, saying you're working for rich people like that's a crime. Don't let her get in your head, okay? Keep your eyes on the prize." Aaliyah swallowed, anger and shame trying to rise together. Sierra didn't even know the truth, but she didn't need truth to hurt people. Aaliyah typed back a short message. "I'm okay. I'm staying focused." She slipped the phone away and returned to cleaning. Near the end of the shift, a customer, a woman in designer heels, stopped Aaliyah and pressed a bill into her hand. "Thank you for being so kind," the woman said warmly. "Some people act like staff are invisible. You're not." Aaliyah blinked, surprised. "Thank you, ma'am." The woman smiled and walked away. Tasha saw the exchange. So did Brianna. Brianna's face twisted. "Again? Another tip?" Tasha's jaw flexed. "It's not about the tip. It's about the attention." Brianna lowered her voice. "Maybe she really is just nice." Tasha scoffed. "Nice is a strategy, and strategies get people ahead." Brianna hesitated. "So what are you thinking?" Tasha's eyes drifted toward the back corridor, where the floors were freshly mopped. Then she smiled, slow, cold, and sure. "I'm thinking, accidents happen." Brianna's eyebrows lifted. "Tasha, relax," Tasha whispered. "Nobody's going to get hurt, but she's going to stop looking so perfect." Brianna bit her lip, nervous but curious. "How?" Tasha leaned in, voice like poison in a pretty bottle. "We make her mess up in front of Kendrick. He hates mistakes. He'll handle the rest." Brianna glanced toward Kendrick and swallowed. "He'll fire her." Tasha's smile widened. "Exactly." Across the room, Aaliyah wiped down a table and took a steady breath, unaware of the trap being built behind her kindness. And as the restaurant lights began to dim into evening mode, jealousy sharpened into a plan. Quiet, quick, and cruel. The next morning, Aaliyah Carter arrived early, just like she always did, before most staff, before the first customers, before the building fully woke up. The restaurant corridors were quiet, the kind of quiet that made you feel like you could start over. She tied her apron, greeted Mrs. Evelyn Brooks with a respectful, "Good morning, ma'am," and got straight to work. Evelyn nodded once. "Floors first, back corridor and main entrance. Make them shine." "Yes, ma'am." Aaliyah filled her bucket, dipped her mop, and began moving in smooth, practiced strokes. She cleaned like she was building a future with every swipe, because she was. In another corner, Tasha Monroe leaned casually against a supply shelf, pretending to check cleaning products while watching Aaliyah out of the side of her eye. Beside her, Brianna Lane shifted nervously. "You sure about this?" Brianna whispered. Tasha's face stayed calm. "Don't start shaking now. Just do your part." Brianna swallowed. "I don't want her to get hurt." "She won't," Tasha said, impatient. "She'll just look careless. That's all Kendrick needs." Brianna hesitated, then reached into her bag and pulled out a banana she'd been eating. She stared at it like it was heavier than it should be. "Come on," Tasha urged. "Drop it in the back corridor, right past the service door. She'll be there in 2 minutes." Brianna's fingers trembled. She peeled the banana slowly, heart pounding with guilt. Then she glanced around, made sure no one was watching, and placed the peel on the floor near the corner, right where Aaliyah would turn with her mop bucket. Tasha's eyes lit with satisfaction. "Now we wait." Aaliyah approached the back corridor carrying her bucket. She was thinking about tuition, about the final notice, about how many hours she needed to work to catch up. She didn't notice the banana peel at first, not until her shoe hit it. Her foot slid forward, time slowed, her arms flailed, the bucket tilted, and water splashed across the shiny floor. Aaliyah tried to catch herself, but momentum won. She fell hard, and as she went down, she crashed into someone stepping out of the private hallway. Aaliyah heard a sharp grunt. Then she saw polished shoes, a tailored suit, and a flash of expensive metal on a wrist. Kendrick Kingsley. The impact knocked him off balance. His shoulder slammed into the wall, and a few drops of dirty mop water splattered near his trouser leg. Kendrick's face tightened like he'd been insulted by the air itself. Aaliyah scrambled, panic rising in her throat. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Kendrick stared at her like she was a stain. What is wrong with you? He snapped, voice loud enough to pull attention from nearby staff. Do you know how much this suit costs? Aaliyah's cheeks burned. Sir, it was an accident. I didn't see. Of course you didn't. Kendrick cut in, his tone dripping with contempt. People like you never see anything until you've messed it up. Workers froze. A server stopped mid-step. A manager peeked around the corner. Even Evelyn appeared at the hallway entrance, her eyes widening. Aaliyah's throat tightened. Please, I can clean it up. I wasn't trying to... Kendrick stepped closer, towering over her. Save the excuses. I don't tolerate incompetence. He pointed toward the staff doors, like she was being thrown out of his world. You're fired, immediately. Aaliyah blinked, stunned. Sir, please, I need this job. Kendrick's expression didn't soften. Should have thought of that before you decided to embarrass me. Aaliyah looked around, hoping someone would speak, hoping someone would explain, hoping someone would defend her. But fear kept mouths closed. Nobody wanted Kendrick's attention. Tasha watched from a distance, hiding a satisfied smile. Brianna's face went pale, guilt twisting her stomach. Evelyn took a step forward, her voice firm. Mr. Kingsley? Kendrick raised a hand to silence her without even turning. I said she's fired. Aaliyah's eyes watered, but she forced herself to stand. Her knees hurt. Her pride hurt more. She picked up her fallen bucket with shaking hands. I'm sorry, she whispered, not because she was guilty, but because she was human. She turned to leave. That's when two voices, calm, authoritative, and unfamiliar, stopped everything. Hold on, a man said from behind. And nobody moves, added a woman's voice, quiet but powerful. Aaliyah turned. At the hallway entrance stood an elegant older couple. The man wore a simple suit with the posture of a leader, and the woman carried herself, like someone who didn't ask permission in rooms she owned. Bishop Isaiah Kingsley and Dr. Lucille Kingsley, the true owners of the empire, Kendrick was only borrowing, and they had seen it all. That same moment, the air changed. Kendrick Kingsley's loud authority, so heavy a second ago, suddenly felt lighter, like it had been taken off the room and placed in someone else's hands. Aaliyah Carter stood frozen beside her bucket, eyes wide, while the elegant couple at the hallway entrance stepped forward. The man moved first. Beside him walked Dr. Lucille Kingsley, graceful and poised, her expression controlled but stern. She looked like someone who had built success with discipline, not arrogance. Kendrick's posture shifted immediately. Mom, Dad. He forced a tight smile. You didn't say you were coming. Bishop Isaiah didn't return the smile. We came because we've been hearing things, he said evenly, and now we've seen them. Dr. Lucille's eyes moved from Kendrick's suit to Aaliyah's shaken face, then to the wet floor. Explain, she said. Kendrick spread his hands like the situation was obvious. She's careless. She slipped, spilled water, bumped into me. You slipped? Dr. Lucille asked Aaliyah, her tone gentler than her face. Aaliyah swallowed. Her voice came out quiet. Yes, ma'am. I didn't see the banana peel. I tried to catch myself, but— Banana peel? Bishop Isaiah repeated, his eyes narrowing. Aaliyah pointed weakly toward the corner. Bishop Isaiah followed her gesture and spotted it. Small, simple, but loud in its meaning. He looked around at the staff, his gaze pausing on Tasha and Brianna, standing too stiff, too silent. Evelyn stepped forward, clearing her throat. Sir, ma'am, she began. Aaliyah is new, but she's been hard-working. I was about to explain to Mr. Kingsley. Kendrick cut her off. Evelyn, don't. I made my decision. Bishop Isaiah turned slowly to Kendrick. You made your decision, without asking questions. Kendrick's jaw tightened. Dad, I don't have time for— You don't have time for justice? Bishop Isaiah's voice stayed calm, but the sting in it was unmistakable. You don't have time for humility? Kendrick's eyes flashed. I'm the one running this place. Dr. Lucille's lips pressed together. You're managing it, she corrected quietly. Don't confuse permission with ownership. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Aaliyah's heart thudded. Ownership? Bishop Isaiah faced the workers. All of you who saw what happened, he said, speak the truth. Was she careless, or was something placed there? No one moved. Fear held them in place. Bishop Isaiah's eyes hardened. I said speak. Brianna's breathing quickened. She glanced at Tasha, who stared at her with warning. Brianna looked down, guilt breaking her. It was there, Brianna blurted. The peel. It wasn't supposed to be— She stopped, terrified of what she'd just admitted. Tasha hissed. Brianna! Dr. Lucille turned to Tasha, her gaze slicing. So you noticed it? Tasha's mouth opened, then closed. Evelyn's eyes widened with realization. You two set her up. Brianna's eyes filled with tears. I didn't want her to get hurt, she whispered. Tasha said— She said Kendrick would fire her. Kendrick's face tightened, anger shifting from embarrassment to something uglier. So this was a trap. Bishop Isaiah's disappointment deepened. And you still fired her without question. Aaliyah stood, trembling. She didn't feel victorious. She felt exhausted, like she'd been pulled through shame and dropped into confusion. Dr. Lucille stepped closer to Aaliyah. What's your name again, dear? Aaliyah Carter, ma'am. Dr. Lucille nodded slowly, studying her like she could see more than the uniform. You didn't argue, you didn't curse, you didn't beg, even when you were humiliated. Aaliyah's voice shook. I just need to work. I need to stay in school. Bishop Isaiah looked at Kendrick. You have lost respect for people, he said, and if we don't correct this now, you'll lose more than respect. Kendrick scoffed, but it sounded weaker this time. Dr. Lucille turned back to Aaliyah. We're not finished with you, she said, surprising everyone. Come to our home this evening. We'd like to speak with you properly. Aaliyah blinked. Your home, Bishop Isaiah added. Yes, because we believe God sometimes places the right person in the wrong place to change a destiny. Kendrick's eyes widened. Absolutely not. Dr. Lucille didn't look at him. It's not a debate, Kendrick. Aaliyah stood there, confused, nervous, and suddenly aware that her firing might have been the beginning of something bigger. That evening, after the shock of the restaurant incident settled into a heavy silence inside her chest, Aaliyah Carter stood outside the Kingsley estate, holding her small handbag like it was a shield. The gate alone looked like something from a movie, tall iron bars, cameras, security lights, and a driveway so long it felt like a private road. Aaliyah swallowed, resisting the urge to turn back. Her shoes were simple, her dress modest, and her heart was still bruised from being humiliated in front of strangers. A uniformed guard approached. "Name? Aaliyah Carter," she said, voice careful. "Dr. Lucille Kingsley invited me." The guard checked a tablet, then nodded. "You're expected. Follow the driveway. Front entrance." Aaliyah walked forward, her steps slow, her mind racing. Why would they want me at their home? What do they really want? When she reached the entrance, the doors opened before she could knock. A woman stepped out first, tall, composed, and dressed in a clean black uniform. Her posture said she ran the house whether the owners were home or not. "Aaliyah?" the woman asked. "Yes, ma'am." "I'm Mrs. Evelyn Brooks," she said, and Aaliyah's eyes widened in surprise. "Yes, the same Evelyn from the restaurant. I work for the Kingsleys full-time. Come in." Aaliyah followed her into a marble-floored hallway, so bright and polished it almost didn't feel real. The air smelled like fresh flowers and expensive wood. Aaliyah tried not to stare, but every chandelier and framed painting reminded her how different her world was from theirs. Evelyn glanced at her softly. "You did well today," she said. "Not many people keep their dignity under shame." Aaliyah lowered her gaze. "I didn't know what else to do." "Sometimes that's the best you can do." Evelyn paused at a sitting room entrance. "Wait here, they'll be with you." Aaliyah sat on the edge of a couch that looked too perfect to touch, hands folded tight in her lap. A few moments later, Bishop Isaiah Kingsley walked in, followed by Dr. Lucille Kingsley. Up close, their authority felt even stronger, but it wasn't harsh. It was steady, like structure. Dr. Lucille sat across from Aaliyah. "Thank you for coming, dear." Aaliyah nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Bishop Isaiah leaned forward slightly. "We won't waste your time. We invited you because of what we saw." Aaliyah's stomach tightened. "I didn't mean to." "We know," Dr. Lucille said firmly. "That's the point. You were innocent and our son didn't care. He cared about his pride more than your humanity." Aaliyah didn't know what to say, so she stayed quiet. Bishop Isaiah continued. "Kendrick wasn't raised to treat people that way, but grief and entitlement have twisted him." Dr. Lucille added, "We've tried business mentors, friends, consequences, even distance. Nothing sticks." Aaliyah blinked. "So, why me?" Bishop Isaiah's eyes softened. "Because you have what he lacks right now. Character, self-control, and something else, faith." Aaliyah's throat tightened at the word. Dr. Lucille leaned in. "We'd like to offer you a position here in the mansion," she said, "as part of our household staff. Fair salary, safe environment, and—" She paused, watching Aaliyah closely. "Help with your education." Aaliyah's mouth parted. "Help? How?" Bishop Isaiah nodded. "Scholarship support, not charity, an investment. But we have one request." Aaliyah's fingers curled around her bag strap. "What request?" Dr. Lucille's voice stayed calm. "We want you to help us stop Kendrick from destroying himself and everyone around him." Aaliyah's heart raced. "Ma'am, I'm just a student. I can't—" "You can," Evelyn said from the doorway, surprising Aaliyah. Evelyn stepped in, expression serious. "I watched you today. You don't fold easily." Aaliyah looked between them, overwhelmed. "If he hates me, he'll make my life miserable." Bishop Isaiah's tone was gentle but firm. "He already does that to everyone, but you—" He pointed lightly. "You stood your ground without disrespect. That kind of strength bothers him, and it wakes something in him." Before Aaliyah could respond, the sound of footsteps and a low laugh echoed down the hallway. A man entered, hands in his pockets, suit jacket open like he owned the air, Kendrick Kingsley. He stopped when he saw Aaliyah. His eyes narrowed. "You've got to be kidding me," he said, voice sharp. "Why is she here?" Dr. Lucille didn't flinch. "Because we invited her." Kendrick's gaze flicked to Aaliyah. "I fired you." Aaliyah lifted her chin, calm but steady. "Yes, sir, you did." Bishop Isaiah stood slowly. "And now we're making a different decision." Kendrick's jaw tightened. "You're bringing her into my house?" Dr. Lucille's eyes hardened. "This is our house, Kendrick." The room went silent, and Aaliyah realized the real test hadn't been the fall. The real test had just walked in. That same night, Kendrick Kingsley didn't sleep. Aaliyah Carter knew because she heard him, his footsteps pacing the upstairs hallway long after the mansion had gone quiet. The sound carried frustration, like he was arguing with himself, even when no one answered. When morning came, Aaliyah rose early, heart steady but alert. Mrs. Evelyn Brooks guided her through the house, like a general training a new recruit. "This is the East Wing," Evelyn said, walking with quick, controlled steps. "Guest rooms, linen storage, private sitting area. Your duties will rotate, but your first assignment is simple. Keep common spaces clean and follow house rules." Aaliyah nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Evelyn paused, her voice dropping. "And listen, Kendrick will test you. He enjoys pushing people until they react. Don't give him the reaction he wants." Aaliyah swallowed. "What if he tries to get me fired again?" Evelyn's eyes were firm. "He can't fire you here. Dr. Lucille hired you. Bishop Isaiah approved it. Kendrick can complain, but he can't remove you." Aaliyah exhaled softly, grateful for that safety. "Okay." As she started arranging cushions in the main lounge, a deep voice drifted down the staircase. "Well, well, the new hero is still here." Aaliyah turned. Kendrick stood at the top step in fitted loungewear, expensive even in comfort. His expression was sharp, but his eyes carried something else, restlessness, like a storm that had nowhere to land. Aaliyah remained respectful. "Good morning, sir." He came down slowly, gaze scanning her like she was a problem he hadn't solved yet. "Do you know what I hate?" he said, not waiting for an answer. "People who act righteous." Aaliyah kept her hands calm. "I'm not trying to act anyway. I'm just doing my job." Kendrick laughed softly. "Your job." He stepped closer. "You think you're special because my parents felt sorry for you." Aaliyah met his eyes, voice gentle but firm. "They didn't pity me. They offered me work." Kendrick's jaw tightened at her calmness. "So now you're going to police this house too? Tell me what to do? Snitch to my mother?" Aaliyah shook her head. "I'm not here to control you, sir. But I'll follow the rules of the house. The same rules apply to everyone." His eyes narrowed. "Everyone?" "Yes," Aaliyah said quietly. "Everyone." For a second, Kendrick just stared, like nobody had spoken to him that way in a long time. Then he smirked. "Fine," he said. "Let's see how strong your rules are." Later that afternoon, Aaliyah was dusting a hallway table when she heard music thumping from the back lounge. Loud, not the soft background kind, party loud. She followed the sound and found Kendrick with two men and a woman lounging on couches like it was a club. An open bottle sat on the glass table. The woman giggled at something Kendrick whispered. Aaliyah's stomach tightened. She remembered Bishop Isaiah's calm authority and Dr. Lucille's disappointment. She also remembered Evelyn's warning. Don't give him the reaction he wants. Aaliyah stepped forward, voice steady. "Sir, guests aren't allowed in this part of the house without approval. Mrs. Evelyn will need to register them." Kendrick leaned back, amused. "Listen to her. She's got a rule book." One of the men laughed. "Bro, who is she?" Kendrick's smile was sharp. "New staff. Apparently she thinks she's in charge." Aaliyah ignored the insult, and looked directly at the guests. "Hello, I'm Aliyah. I'm sorry, but this area is private. Please follow me to the front sitting room while I confirm permission." The woman's smile faded. "Is he serious?" Kendrick's eyes flashed. "You're embarrassing me." Aliyah's voice didn't rise. "No, sir. Your choices are embarrassing you. I'm just preventing a bigger problem." For a moment, Kendrick looked like he might explode. His hand hovered near the bottle, fingers tightening. Aliyah didn't move back. She didn't argue. She simply stood, firm, respectful, unshaken. Evelyn appeared at the doorway, her face hard. "Mr. Kingsley," she said, "the bishop is on his way down." Kendrick's jaw clenched. He glanced at Aliyah. Anger, disbelief, and something dangerously close to curiosity in his eyes. "Get out!" he snapped at his guests. They stood quickly, confused and annoyed, and left in a hurry. When the room emptied, Kendrick turned back to Aliyah, voice low. "You're going to regret this." Aliyah held his stare, heart pounding but face calm. "Maybe, but I'd regret it more if I helped you destroy yourself." Kendrick stared at her like she'd spoken a language he didn't understand, and Aliyah realized the storm wasn't just Kendrick's anger. It was the beginning of a battle for a soul. The following morning, Aliyah Carter stepped onto campus with a new kind of tired, one that came from fighting battles in two worlds at once. Her phone buzzed as she walked. A message from Mrs. Evelyn Brooks read, "You handled yourself well yesterday. Stay steady. Proud of you." Aliyah's throat tightened at the kindness. She tucked the phone away just as laughter erupted near the courtyard. "Look who's here!" Aliyah turned and saw Sierra Blake leaning against a bench with two friends, all three dressed like they were heading to a photo shoot instead of class. Sierra's eyes sparkled with cruel excitement. "I heard you got fired," Sierra said loudly. "Then I heard you got rehired in a billionaire's house." She tilted her head like she was tasting gossip. "So which one is it, Aliyah? Cleaner or something else?" The words hit like a slap, and Aliyah felt eyes turn toward her. Whispers started instantly. She took a slow breath. "Don't react the way they want." "I work," Aliyah said calmly, "because I have goals." Sierra laughed. "Goals?" She pointed dramatically. "Girl, you don't have goals. You have problems." Aliyah's stomach tightened, but she held her ground. "I'd rather have problems and purpose than pride, and no kindness." Sierra's smile faltered, just a crack. Before Sierra could respond, a voice cut in. "Leave her alone." Aliyah turned and saw Marcus Hill, a tall, clean-cut classmate, with a quiet confidence and warm eyes. Marcus wasn't loud or flashy, but people respected him because he didn't chase attention. He walked up and stood beside Aliyah like it was the most natural thing. Sierra rolled her eyes. "Marcus, don't start acting like a hero." "I'm not," Marcus said evenly. "I just don't like bullies." Sierra scoffed and waved her hand. "Whatever. Come on." She walked off with her friends, but not before throwing Aliyah one last look, promising this wasn't over. Aliyah exhaled slowly. "Thank you," she told Marcus. Marcus shrugged. "You don't have to thank me for basic respect." He nodded toward the lecture hall. "You okay?" Aliyah hesitated, then nodded. "I'm trying to be." "I see you," Marcus said softly. "You're always working, always focused. People talk because they don't understand that kind of strength." Aliyah looked down. "Sometimes strength feels like loneliness." Marcus's expression softened. "You don't have to carry everything alone, Aliyah." Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again, this time a call from home. Her chest tightened. She stepped aside and answered. "Hello?" Denise's voice came through slurred and shaky. "Aliyah? Where you at?" Aliyah closed her eyes. "Mum, I'm at school." "You got money?" Denise asked, and Aaliyah felt her heart sink. Just a little. I need... Aaliyah swallowed hard. Mum, I don't have extra. Denise's tone turned sharp. So you just gonna leave me like this? Aaliyah's fingers trembled. I'm not leaving you, but I can't keep feeding this. Denise muttered something bitter and hung up. Aaliyah stared at the phone, fighting tears. Marcus watched her carefully. Everything okay? Aaliyah forced a small smile. Yeah, just family. Marcus nodded, not pushing. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. Aaliyah whispered, Thank you, then headed to class. Later that evening at the mansion, Aaliyah returned with her mind full and her heart heavy. She walked into the kitchen to grab water, only to freeze when she heard Kendrick Kingsley's voice coming from the hallway. Low, tense, like he was in a private argument. I don't need a babysitter, Kendrick said. Aaliyah paused, listening. Evelyn's voice answered, firm. You don't need a babysitter. You need discipline. Kendrick let out a bitter laugh. And you all think she's the answer? The little cleaner girl? Aaliyah's cheeks warmed, but she stayed still. Then Kendrick said something that surprised her, something softer, almost unwilling. She doesn't flinch, he muttered. Most people flinch. Aaliyah's breath caught. For the first time, she realized Kendrick wasn't only angry, he was watching her, and somewhere beneath his pride, something in him was beginning to crack. 2 days after the campus confrontation, Aaliyah Carter returned to the mansion with a new routine forming around her. Morning classes, afternoon work, late-night studying. Her body was tired, but her mind stayed sharp because it had to. Failure wasn't an option when life already had its foot on your neck. That afternoon, she walked into the staff kitchen and found Mrs. Evelyn Brooks standing beside a grocery bag on the counter. A delivery came, Evelyn said, flipping through a small receipt. Addressed to your mother's house. Aaliyah froze. To my house? Evelyn nodded slowly, watching Aaliyah's face. Yes, basic groceries, nothing fancy. Aaliyah's heartbeat quickened. Who sent it? Evelyn's lips pressed together like she already knew the answer, but didn't want to be the one to say it. Ask Mr. Kendrick. Aaliyah stared at the bag, rice, cooking oil, canned goods, bread, even soap. Her throat tightened. That wasn't a random act, that was intentional. Aaliyah took a shaky breath. Where is he? Back patio, Evelyn said. And Aaliyah. She paused, eyes serious. Don't go in there accusing him. Go in there with wisdom. Aaliyah nodded, but her chest was already burning with a mix of gratitude and confusion. She walked through the hallway toward the patio doors, each step louder in her ears than it should have been. Outside, Kendrick Kingsley stood near a stone fountain, phone in hand, dressed like he was about to leave. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes weren't. They looked like a man who stayed busy so he wouldn't have to sit with himself. Aaliyah stopped a few feet away. Sir. Kendrick glanced at her like he didn't have time, then slipped his phone into his pocket. What? Aaliyah lifted her chin. A grocery delivery came to my mother's house. Kendrick's face didn't change. So, I want to know if it was you. He scoffed softly. Why would I do that? Aaliyah studied him. Because you heard my call the other day. You heard my mother, and someone sent groceries 2 days later. Kendrick's jaw flexed. You think you're a detective now? Aaliyah didn't move. I think you're not as cold as you pretend. For a moment, silence sat between them, thick and daring. Then Kendrick looked away, eyes narrowing at something far beyond the mansion walls. Don't get the wrong idea, he said. I hate drama. I'm just removing distractions. If your home situation messes with your work, it becomes my problem. Aaliyah's lips parted, almost amused. So you helped, because you didn't want it to inconvenience you. Kendrick's eyes snapped back to hers. Exactly. Aaliyah nodded slowly. Okay, thank you. Kendrick blinked like he expected her to fight him, argue, or melt into tears. That's it? That's it, Aaliyah said. I don't have to hate you to be honest, and I don't have to worship you to be grateful. Kendrick's mouth tightened. He didn't like how calm she stayed. It made him feel exposed. Aaliyah turned to go, but Kendrick's voice stopped her. Your mother, he said, tone rougher. She always like that? Aaliyah's fingers curled. No. Her voice softened. She wasn't always. She used to sing to me. She used to pray, but addiction changed her. Kendrick's gaze lowered for a second, like the word changed hit something inside him. And your dad? Aaliyah sighed. He gambles. He thinks quick money is the only way. Kendrick muttered under his breath. People love destroying what they're supposed to protect. Aaliyah looked back at him. Sometimes it's because they're hurting. Kendrick's eyes hardened instantly, like a door slamming shut. Don't psychoanalyze me. Aaliyah nodded once. I wasn't. That evening, Kendrick tried to reclaim control the only way he knew, by pushing boundaries. When Aaliyah passed the lounge, she saw him reach for a bottle from the bar cabinet, his movements sharp, like he was angry at the world. Aaliyah didn't rush in yelling. She simply stepped into view and said calmly, Sir, Bishop Isaiah asked that alcohol not be kept open in the lounge. Kendrick's hand paused mid-air. He turned slowly, eyes dark. Do you enjoy challenging me? Aaliyah's heart pounded, but her tone stayed steady. No, I enjoy peace, and this doesn't lead to peace. Kendrick stared at her for a long moment, then slammed the cabinet shut. Get out of my sight, he hissed. Aaliyah nodded, respectful. Good night, sir. She walked away with her head high, but her hands trembled once she turned the corner, because she was beginning to understand something dangerous. Kendrick was fighting her, not because he hated her. He was fighting her because she was reaching parts of him he'd buried on purpose. Season 1 ends right here, and what a journey it's been. One thing is clear. Aaliyah's story is proof that integrity still matters. When she was desperate, she could have taken a shortcut that would have paid fast, but she chose dignity instead. And that single decision didn't just protect her future, it revealed her strength. Here's the moral lesson. Your struggle is not your identity. Your background doesn't cancel your destiny. And no matter how painful life gets, pain is never permission to become cruel. Kendrick may be wounded, but healing is a choice. Respect is a choice. Change is a choice. And the moment someone starts choosing better, that's when destiny begins to shift. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think so far? Who is your favorite character right now? Aaliyah, Kendrick, Evelyn, Bishop Isaiah, Dr. Lucille, Nia, or Marcus? And why? And what do you want to see in Season 2? Do you think Kendrick will truly transform? Or will his old habits fight back? Will Aaliyah's family finally change? Or will they pull her down again? And what about the enemies watching her success? Will they let her breathe? Or will they come back worse than before? All right, goodbye for now. If you want Season 2, comment that you want Season 2, and tell me what you want to happen next. This is Mr. Hope, and I will see you in the next one.